as expected, Scott Bessent was on Capitol Hill. And there's tons from it, very combative with the Democrats. I think the Democrats thought that it would be a good idea to try to rough him up and take some of the shine off of him. I'll show you a couple of exchanges. This is Scott Bessent with Representative Velasquez asking about trade negotiations. Number 7, please.
Specifically, which countries are you close to striking deals with?
I'm sorry, Congresswoman, but that would not benefit the United States.
No. I'm asking you a question based on the statement that you made on CNBC.
And I am telling you that it would be detrimental to the interest of the United States for me to answer that question.
Why would that be detrimental?
Because as the negotiations may still be in process as we speak, as we are not at the end of the week yet, I am sure that you through your question, would not want to compromise the U.S. negotiating.
Reclaiming my time,
would you?
Secretary Bessent, the president goes into a press conference and claims that there are negotiations going on. And then the next day, there's no negotiations going on. So why would you not answer my question? And that will be considered detrimental to the American people, to the American economy. I do not understand. Despite your claim...
I'm happy to say there are negotiations going on. I'm not going to reveal the details.
No filibuster. No filibuster here.
So how long do you think those negotiations will take before they are concluded?
There are numerous countries, as I have said, if you saw my CNBC interview, which you referenced, that there are 18 important trading partners, and we are moving forward at all deliberate speed with those.
I'm the world's biggest critic of members of Congress of both parties who grandstand at hearings rather than try to do the people's business. Here is Congresswoman Presley, number 8, thinking she can outfox the Fox-like Treasury Secretary.
Yes or no? Mr. Secretary, do you know what a car seat is?
I have 2 children, yes.
Do you know what a car seat is? Brian, as you look at the leadership of the Treasury Secretary, how would you appraise how he's doing, not in a political way, but on behalf of the American people?
Well, look, I think it's a challenging situation to be in right now, to be between the Treasury Department, President Trump, and also you have to look at the Fed. And I think that Powell coming out and making a comment today, what I would ask some of your listeners today and viewers here with us tonight is I would say, look up the word stagflation. You know, that is you're going to be hearing a lot about that in the coming weeks, months, could even be years. But you do have we already have a contraction of the economy. You know, that's really the stagnation part of it. But you really do have to think about the coming inflation that they talk about with the tariffs. And a lot of that is already starting to happen. If you look at the data today of ships coming into American ports, has completely decreased in the last 45 days just on the uncertainty. So you know countries are reacting to that. And by the way, so are American companies that buy those goods. They're reacting to that. So, you know, I think it's something we're, you know, looking at a little bit further. I think the Treasury Secretary has a huge job. This comment that was made by Congresswoman Velasquez, I thought was my point of being utterly ridiculous. That's ridiculous to be able to ask the secretary about specific negotiations. And anybody who has been a little bit closer to government at all knows that that wouldn't be smart. And it's not someplace, it may look like a I got you moment to maybe some of the American people.
Yeah.
I think any of us that have half a brain know that that is like not a smart thing to be
No.
able to point out and say
No.
it's actually a waste of time.
Waste of time. That's what it
I
is.
totally
and-
agree with
yeah.
Brian. Can I just say, like, that was so funny. I'm like still laughing about it. How long has it been? Like 2 minutes since you played that
Yeah.
clip?
Yeah.
Like, that was so stupid. It was so
Yeah.
obviously stupid. I'm sorry to use that like word, but it's just it feels naive and inexperienced that she was pressing so hard on that. And like the truth is, like, it's so disappointing because I find that this economic policy is quite experimental. It's quite exotic. It's not something that we've ever seen, at least not recently. And in the current economic conditions and with the current level of debt, and I think that there's genuine and sincere and fascinating questions to ask the Treasury Secretary, who's obviously like partly leading this experiment. And it's a shame that they aren't being asked, because I think people on the right and the left would love to know more about what the policy is, what the plan is, addressing like obvious things that we're all wondering about. Are prices going to spike? How are we going to avoid that? Have you had conversations with CEOs? Have you had conversations with manufacturers? You know what I mean? Like there's so many valid questions that are sincere and honest and get to the bottom of something and reveal something fascinating and interesting about what they're doing. And instead she's like trying to like put him on the spot for like Twitter. It's just
I will say, and some people may criticize me for this, but sometimes you got to say what is as opposed to what ought to be. Really, the number one way to become a MAGA hero is to have a very public fight in which you arguably come out on top with a woman of color who's a liberal. I mean, that just MAGA eats that up. MAGA eats that up.
I don't know,
Again,
but the race
MAGA
and the
eats
sex
that.
of the person,
Sorry.
owning libs, sure, but
No, better. I'm telling you, for a lot of people in MAGA, better to own a lib who's a female of color. Just a reality, Emma Joe.
never heard that.
But who actually who
Sure.
is the ranking chair of these committees that are not having discussions with their members about content and substance?
They never do. They never do.
They never do. And it's just
both parties.
yeah,
They're just,
both parties. But I'm just saying this one example.
Yeah.
It's something I would have said we are not bringing things up that are obviously wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
They're
I agree.
defective in nature as far as an argument. And it's absolutely, I don't understand why there's not a little bit more discipline and why there's just not a little bit more accountability to that.
Yeah, I agree.
And by the way, why can't you be just more organized? Just be more organized. We know we're having
They never do. The only two members of Congress I've ever covered who knew how to do this were John Dingell and Henry Waxman.
Yep.
And they're literally the only two. Every other member in both parties, for some reason, doesn't seem very hard. They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.